What day did you go to gym with Trust? Saturday. Did you try any of it? Supriya, I have to confess, when I see Supercycle, my first thought is it some kind of jacked up spin class or exercise class? But clearly it's a term used to describe commodities when they're supposed to go through a boom, right?
Yes.
So the interesting thing is, somebody highlighted, Jim Rogers highlighted that when commodity markets zag, equity markets zig. So the equity markets have been going up really high, but have the commodities been moved in the opposite direction?
I think usually that has been the case, but in January this year we actually saw both of them meeting at the same point. Commodities were at a high, and so was the Dow Jones. It was at its highest peak. So I think that's when it actually broke that sort of tradition, when commodities zig and equities zag and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, so but what does it really mean? Does that mean now that markets have calmed down a little bit? Are commodities going to go up? And when I say commodities, the two we actually really care about is crude oil and CPO.
Yeah, I think CPO, as usual, it's a seasonal factor. So right now, CPO prices have actually come down from where it was a year ago slightly. But oil prices are the ones that, with the OPEC cuts coming in, it's where we can actually see oil prices are starting to recover. So in that sense, because oil makes up a big portion of the commodity index and one of the most important commodities in the world, so it would be a commodity to look out for and one that will probably move up the index.
Okay, but for us, are the oil and gas stocks now something to look at? Because UMW Oil and Gas had a great run, and Hibiscus also had a great run. Of course, they had some discoveries that pushed it, but that optimism that didn't seem to match the grade of discovery. It's not as if they discovered, a massive plot of oil. So will the oil and gas guys benefit?
Well, when it comes to oil and gas, I guess it depends on what kind of service they're actually providing. But from what we understand from analysts, service providers are actually the ones that actually provide services to the industry. They could actually see a pickup in the oil and gas industry. We've highlighted these 5 stocks that analysts have been talking about quite a bit and have had strong buy calls on them. But then again, it's always hard to make a call on oil and gas because in Malaysia, we of course have to depend on Petronas and where Petronas capex is looking, how is their capex looking at this year and all that.
So it's not so easy to say that all these guys, although like Dayang didn't have good numbers last week, their earnings weren't great.
Yes.
But whatever it is, talking about the super cycle, the analysts you spoke to don't seem to think there is one, or it's just the earlier reach of one. If there is a super cycle, what does that actually mean for the economy? Or is it like the economy drives the super cycle the other way around?
I think it's the latter, because it's when the commodity index actually looks up, people actually look at it like, because commodities are all futures based, so you look at it on a forward basis. So when you see the economy is picking up, you think, okay, maybe now it's a good time to actually start buying into these commodities, and businesses will tend to buy more. China's demand will go up. China is a big driver for commodities. So then that sort of like drives the commodities more. It's more of the economy driving the commodity more than commodities driving the economy. Of course, when people start to buy more, inflation goes up, the economy tends to boom. It's that sort of thing. But I think it's more of, I would say, more of the economy driving commodities.
So what is going to happen to us if there is one?
Well, I think like in 2008, we saw commodities reach a peak, and then after that it came down a bit. So I think we would probably see a slight boom in commodities, and it would probably help our economic growth towards a certain extent, but it's not going to be the main driver for economic growth.
For more on the stories, pick up a copy of The Edge Weekly at all good newsstands.